Hey everybody, welcome back to When Words Fail Music Speaks, podcast where you fight depression with the power of music. I am your professional handicapped host, James Cox, and I have another interview today. We're just killing it with interviews. I got a great guest for you all today to listen to. His name is Josh Simons, not Simmons, Simons. We talked about that earlier. And he is the co-founder, he is the founder of Vampr, the Rhino. Well, we're going to talk about that too, and he is a CEO of Rhino Group. We're going to find out what that is too. So, Josh, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm good, James. I'm looking forward to this.
I can't hear you.
Oh, bizarre. I'm getting
Okay,
signal.
hold on. Yeah. All right, hold on just a minute. It might be me. All right, let's see here. Same as okay. Can you talk now?
Yep. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I
Can you hear
got
me?
you. I got
Okay,
you.
great.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah. Okay, so that's an audio issue. I'm sure you've dealt with that many times throughout your music
We've
career.
had we've just had an audio issue in an audio podcast. It's very good.
That's fun. You can't write this. This is genius. So this is great. So welcome to the show, Josh. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm good. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to talking about all things music and what we
Yeah.
do. And
Yeah. Well, first, I want to know if I could have your voice, okay? Be your singing voice, not your actual talking voice, because I listened to your band Buchanan,
oh, thank
which
you.
I
Yeah.
think that was in 2017. You might be correcting me some around this podcast, but 2017 is where the 2011. I'm sorry, with No Photo EP.
Yeah,
And
that was a long time ago.
Yeah, a long time ago. Yeah, I'm 43, man. No, 45. But Mr. Keeper Man is track number 2. And that just blew me away with your voice. And I want your voice so bad, but I don't know how to get your voice.
Oh, well, that song in particular, that was just layering. So there was like 11 of me on top of each other.
Okay, yeah, because I'm like,
But
okay, yeah.
but
Well, the whole
yeah.
the whole album's great. I mean, just from beginning to end, because it's like mellow. It's kind of like melodramatic, kind of sort of, but not really.
We liked writing songs. This is a real time warp for me because I don't get to speak about my music very much anymore. But so this is fun. But what we always tried to do with Buchanan, which was the name of my artist project, was write songs that felt optimistic when you listened to them, but when you listened to the lyrics and really dug into the subject matter, it was often a little less rosy and a little bit
Right.
more introspective and looking at some of the problems in the world and maybe provided some, at least a perspective on what's going on. And so we always really enjoyed playing with that duality. I can't remember that song in particular, Mr. Keeper Man,
Yeah.
was about Stockholm syndrome, which is like falling in love with your kidnapper. And so, yeah, I mean,
That's great.
I don't
Yeah.
remember why. I can't remember what was going on in our lives to make us want to write about that. I can confirm no one was kidnapped.
Yeah. Okay. So you were probably thinking about Buffalo Bill, and I think it was Silence of the Lambs. Like he did that, right? Buffalo
We'd probably
Bill, maybe.
just, maybe we'd just watch that film.
Maybe I don't know. It's the strangest thing, hearing different stories from different artists. Them telling us where they heard something to make that song really stand out. And that song's
Yeah.
great. Yeah. Yes.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, that was one of the first songs we ever wrote, and I don't know that we ever topped it. So maybe we should have retired after our first song.
I think y'all should have continued, but then again, we'll see where we could go from here. Yeah, but
Absolutely.
But my sister says I have a voice like a dying horse or rat. I don't know, but she's honest with me, because
Well-
and I love her for that, Yeah.
That firstly, that's not the kindest thing in the world, but maybe it's a very human and kind dying rat because
Yeah. Right, yeah. But I'm not sure what other people think in the car when I'm singing along with the song. Speaking of which, Even though I said that I can't not sing, is there a way for me to learn how to sing, like, arguably, like, well, as opposed to a horse or a cow?
Well, I mean, I had to take singing lessons for
Okay.
years,
Yeah.
and when I first started singing like professionally, quote unquote, I hadn't done many singing lessons, but I'd done some. But then when what happened was Buchanan had it had a little bit of success very quickly. Like we got on the radio, we started touring, and my voice started burning out really fast. So
Yeah.
I'd go and do a show, and then I'd lose my voice for a week. And that meant that I wasn't singing right. I wasn't using my vocal cords properly. So I had to go and get singing lessons really early on. And if you listen to our records, you can hear my voice get stronger because it's quite soft in the first few records. And then
Yeah.
by the second album, it's really quite strong. And that's we did a lot of straw singing, so like breathing exercises through straws, and then
I've actually heard that because one of my past interviewers, he said the straw exercise is really great, and I never heard of it.
yeah,
So I mean, a testament to time you used it and it works. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's great for vocal hygiene in general. It really helps protect your vocal cords. I was sort of pre-nodular, which is like the best way to describe nodules is like calluses on your vocal cords. And it
Yeah.
happens because you smash your chords together too hard, so you're singing too aggressively usually. But um, I had to do lots of exercises to really lubricate and soften up the vocal cords, and so a lot of it was I did another thing called speech level singing, which is learning how to sing at a talking level so that you're not using any more energy than I'm using to talk to you right now.
Hmm.
Um, and that takes years and years and years of practice.
Okay.
And I got pretty good at it. And because I haven't really sung in about 10 years, I'm probably no good at it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because there's many different forms of singing, and I know I think it's mono. It's the style that Slayer sings in. He kind of like
Oh yeah.
talks. He kind of
Yeah.
like talks to it, you know.
Yeah.
And I guess that's a form of singing too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And then some of the heavier artists, they some of them, and I don't know how this works for vocal hygiene, but I know that they almost breathe in when they sing as opposed to breathe out. So yeah, like you said, there's so many different types of singing, and so many different genres call for different types of singing. With the music that we made, which was like, pop rock, um, falsetto is an important color
Yeah.
or timbre in the mix that I needed to be able to nail. So I had to learn a singing style that allowed me to switch between what sounded like falsetto, although you can fake falsetto, um, and what sounded like full chest, but but I wanted to be able to do it without changing so dramatically how it's getting very nerdy, but how I use the the throat. So that's where speech level singing came into it. You can flip between those two
Right.
sounds, but without really doing much gymnastics inside your
Yeah.
throat.
Yeah. Well, this is a very nerdy podcast, so nerd out with me.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it's all good here, brother. All right. So yeah. So what I want to talk about now is and I'm sure you've been asked this hundreds of times, and I'm sorry if that you have. But did you always grow up in music? Because some artists don't really grow up into music. You know.
yeah. Yeah, I did. So my family was heavily embedded in the music industry. My granddad was a pretty well-known publisher in England. My father publishers, for those who don't know, sort of basically collect royalties on behalf of songwriters,
Yeah.
make sure that songwriters get paid. My father followed in his footsteps and went into publishing. My mum worked at Warner's and other major record labels in the marketing department. So we came like from a family that was embedded in the industry. When I was a child, I started playing piano pretty young.
Yeah.
Um, and I think because there was just always music around us, industry people around us, it did feel somewhat inevitable going into the industry. Having said that, my father passed away when I was 2. My mother left the industry before I was born. So there came a point well before I was a teenager where any connection to the music industry had actually fallen off. And by the time I'd turned sort of 17 and was trying to break into the world of music and think about next steps after high school and all that fun stuff, I had to start from scratch basically. And I was in a different country because I moved to Australia at about the age of 5. So all of our connections were in England, and so yeah, we I was really starting from scratch, despite the fact that my family had quite deep ties to the industry. So a weird mix of yeah, it being in the family, but also kind of starting from nothing in a way.
Yeah, starting from scratch is always hard,
Yeah.
But I'm sure you've had people look out for you, because somebody knew your parents once or twice. No, maybe.
Like
No.
way less than you'd think.
Okay.
Sometimes what's happened over the years, especially later in my career, when I've been fortunate enough to travel a fair bit, um, I'll meet people that I might have heard about through my grandparents or parents when they were alive,
Right.
and sometimes you go, "Oh, did you know Cyril, or did you know this person?" And
Yeah.
and then the sort of something clicks, and then you realize that you have something in common, but it hasn't really helped open any doors.
Oh.
Or I've had to do a lot. I've had to do a lot of the bashing down of doors all
Yeah.
on my own.
Right, and sometimes that's the most fun, but it's scary at the same time, and it's hard, and I'm trying to do the same
Well, you know
thing.
what I had. Well, you know what I did have is had a very supportive mum
Yeah,
through,
yes, okay.
and she didn't really have any contacts left that were useful, but she was always very supportive, and because she'd worked in the industry, she knew what I was. The industry changes every five. Well, the industry's always changing. It goes through big seismic shifts every 5 to 10 years. But
Yeah, yeah,
so she didn't really. On the one hand, it was a different industry, but she knew enough to be able to understand what her son was going through and to stay supportive.
yeah. Going back to what you said about you learning how to play the piano first.
Yeah.
My sister played piano for a while. I used to play the piano for a while, and I remember I remember going to a recital and playing Mickey Mouse, in my CK.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that was horrible. So I just stopped
What?
and everything. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, it's just one or two, the key notes, But I
like a
heard
Drake song.
that's a very good song. Yeah, but I'm like, that's it. I'm done with this piano stuff. Um, but I've heard that if you play the piano and get very well at it, you can play anything else you want to.
Yeah, that is mostly true. So,
Right.
I can play like my main instruments are piano, guitar, and drums, but
Yeah.
I can play most instruments.
Yeah.
I do think music is a language, and I think once you learn the language, it's fairly transferable. And I think piano is a good one because when you're looking at piano, you can see every note. Now, guitar, you can see every note, but it's not laid out in a way that our brain is, automatically geared toward, where, we read from left to right and we read in sequential order. Piano, the notes are in sequential order. It's
Right
all
in front
there.
of you. Yeah.
And so I think once you learn how to speak music by playing piano, and it becomes secondhand and second nature, sorry, and so you're not really thinking about where your finger's going next, that makes your ability to pick up any other instrument much faster. And so, yeah, I always, not that I planned this, because you couldn't plan this when you were a child, but I'm very grateful that that's the first thing I sunk my teeth into. And I was never good at picking up a second language. So,
I'm not either. Right? I'm just,
I've tried.
just
I've tried all
right,
of
right.
them.
Yeah.
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 So, but for whatever reason, music stuck.
Yeah, yeah. I failed Spanish hardcore style when I was in high school. Like
Yeah.
this isn't it for me, man. I don't know, But they say if you learn a foreign language, it's kind of like music. If you learn music or a foreign language as a young child, you got it. If you learn it later
Yeah.
on in life, it's much
It's hard.
harder.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of guitars, which is your favorite guitar to play? Because there's many different guitars.
I have a lot. If you look over
Okay.
here,
Yes.
I have a portfolio of guitars.
Nice. I love that. Yeah.
Probably my acoustics, but this one's a Court. I love the brand Court. But I've had Martin acoustics as well.
Yeah.
They're great. Um, Finding a good acoustic, electric acoustic, like with a pickup, that was always finding the right one with the right sound was always a challenge. I must have gone through a lot as a kid, and guitars are an expensive habit. Um, I'd have to work.
Yes.
I cleaned toilets and mowed lawns to pay for guitars. That's literally how I bought my.
Just as long as you buy them, it doesn't matter how you do it, Yeah.
Yeah, and so and keyboards actually, keyboards are even more expensive. So I only
Oh
really
yeah,
had
yeah,
I only
for,
had I
for
had
sure.
two of them I think growing up, but um, it yeah, guitars are when you find the right one, it can really unlock your creativity, and it
Yeah.
can really incentivize you to practice and play and record and experiment. So there's definitely value in finding one that feels right.
Yeah.
I used to sit in guitar stores and I wasn't. I'm never. Just for the record, I'm not a very good guitar player. I'm actually quite lousy, but I can because I can play piano and because I can play music. I know how to make anything emote.
Yeah.
So I can sit down and even though I don't have the fastest fingers and I'm not the most coordinated, I can feel and I can make usually someone listening feel.
Yeah.
So I would sit and find a guitar that felt right in my hand, and that would take a long time. But when you find the right one, it's a beautiful thing. I've had the ones that are on all the ones that are on the wall are my favorites, and I've had
Yeah.
them all for 10 or 15 years.
Can I show you the guitar that I got?
Yeah, please do.
All right. All right. So I was looking for a guitar that I could play, and I got this one.
That's beautiful.
It's
It's
a
very slim.
it's a Fender Highway series, Flatline series, and
Oh,
the
look at
reason
that.
why I got it is because it's so thin right here.
That's beautiful, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And I didn't get I got it on Reverb.com, and for
Oh,
anybody who
cool.
doesn't know, it's a Reverb is like eBay on musical
Yeah.
instruments.
Reverb's a great platform.
Yes, yes, and I got that for a steal because that guitar is worth a whole lot more than what I got it for.
Yeah.
This guy was just selling it for under pressure. And I'm like, I gotta get it, so I got it.
Guitars in I lived in America for about 8 years when I built
Yeah.
Vampr, which we can get onto later.
Yes, yes, we will.
And the thing that I loved about, well, there's a lot of things I loved about living in America, but one of the best things was that musical instruments are a lot cheaper than they are in Australia. And a lot of that is
Really?
because the import costs, and I'm assuming there's probably some import taxes, but just to get anything to Australia costs a lot of money because it's going to go on a ship or it's going to go on a plane and it's going to sit in a warehouse and then it's going to go to another retail location, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
In America, it's often where things are getting manufactured or they're getting manufactured next door in Mexico. And so the cost of guitars in particular, but instruments more broadly, is substantially cheaper. And so I remember when I first moved there, I was a bit worried that I wouldn't have a studio at home, but I think I built one up within a few months and I had all
Yeah.
of my favorite stuff. And actually I've still got a storage unit somewhere in Los Angeles that's got it's got like a replica of the studio I'm in now.
Oh, nice. I guess that was foreshadowed or whatever that word is to
Yeah.
But that's awesome. Yeah, because living in America has such up and downs. Obviously now it's down, I guess. But yeah, so I didn't know that instruments could cost a lot more going overseas than it is,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, cool. Okay, so I do have. Okay, so oh yeah, this is where I was going. Okay, so going back to Buchanan for just a minute or two.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So looking back at your time with Buchanan, because we know that band disbanded a while ago. So what was a significant moment or experience that fundamentally changed your perspective in the music industry that made you want to be an entrepreneur as opposed to
The probably the most important time of Buchanan was the one year that we didn't release any music, which would have been 20. Actually, maybe we did release music that year, but we took a year off. It was 2015. And I'd just come back from living in London for a year where we tried to So what happened? I'll go back a step. So we
Okay.
had a really good start to our career in Australia, and we released a couple of EPs and a debut album, and it did fairly well. It charted, and we
Yeah.
toured it, um, and then we got to the end of that cycle, and it was time to start thinking about a second record. And what a lot of Australian artists do that get a sniff of success is they go overseas because they think I can do this, it's working, and if I can do it in a bigger market, I can make a lot more money. And what they underestimate is that when you arrive in the bigger market, not only are you competing with more people, but you're also essentially starting from scratch. You're starting from scratch with it from a team perspective, you're starting from scratch from a fan perspective. Um, and without a team of aligned individuals and without fans,
Yeah.
uh, you're you don't really have anything, right? Like it's all you need all the pieces in order for the thing to work. And so we got to London and we started from scratch, and in the space of a year, we recorded a second album, we put out a single, it ended up charting and doing all right. But that year was really bloody tough, and it nearly ruined me, and I got quite sick from stress and other things, um
Yeah.
and came back to Australia kind of broken in a way, and was considering shutting it down and not releasing the second record. And that's when I started thinking about Vampr. But
Yeah.
before I got into Vampr and into the tech side and the business of music, I was lucky to have some supportive housemates and people I live with that really encouraged me to at least finish the record, put it out, and give it one more crack. And I
Yeah.
was very cynical, there's a few things that really saved me. I took a job in a music school as a administrator and a sales rep.
Yeah.
But the people there all love music, and that's not usually the people who I hang out with. I don't actually hang out
Oh
with a lot of
no.
musicians, but
Right.
but they were very supportive, and them and my housemates and a whole bunch of people that just kind of every day at least made me feel like someone wanted to listen. So I put out this second album, and it didn't do as well as the first, but it did okay. And then on the back of that, some amazing things started happening. We got invited to do this TED talk that was
Yeah.
sort of live streamed around the world, and that kind of kicked off the second album campaign. And then that TED talk got seen by Keith Urban, and he asked us to join him on an arena tour with
Nice.
Carrie Underwood. And then things just started going from there. And then I got invited to do the songwriting sessions with people like in Kanye West's camp, who he was still fine at that time.
Yeah, right.
um, and
Yeah,
so
he's off the wall now. Yeah.
but things just started happening, and there's a few lessons in that. The big lesson is one that I've learned many times in my life, but I live by it now, which is, when you put energy or effort into something and you put it out into the world, typically you'll get something in return. It might not always
Yeah.
be what you want it to be, but
Right.
you'll get something back. And so, and the sort of, I suppose, the other side to that lesson is, if you don't put anything out there, you won't get anything back. So
Yeah.
if I hadn't put my second album out, I wouldn't have had those experiences. I might have still gone on to do Vampr, and I might have still had a similar life, but I certainly wouldn't have played, in front of 500,000 people and, 10 arena shows or whatever we did. And you know, I wouldn't have felt as good as I do about that second record, and some of the I wouldn't have met some of the people who ended up being, best men at my wedding and things like that all
Yeah.
happened, right?
Yeah.
So that's all because I decided to put out that second record, because I was surrounded by supportive people. So I'm very grateful for that period when I was questioning everything, because if that hadn't happened, my life would look a bit different.
Yeah. Also, I'm going off the back of your second album that you said that didn't do very well. Okay, so
It's
with
really good
me,
though.
oh yeah. Okay, so with me, I tend to find um, positivity towards anything that you say that it wasn't very good, and I say, like, what if, like there's gotta be like 70, 100 people that album helped in their life, you know. They
Well,
they,
I
they
mean,
listen to you and they're like, oh man, I can do this now. I can do this better lives. just by listening to what you did on the second
Yeah,
album. You know.
yeah, and that's
Yeah.
why that's why we that's why we make music. It's why we make technology products, but we
Yeah.
make them, in my mind, because we looking to improve the lives of those who listen to our music, use our products, etc. It's all
Right.
sort of the same thing. But um, when I look at the numbers for that record, like I said, it didn't do as well as the first, but it still had hundreds of thousands of people listen to it, and so that's
Yeah.
that's a lot
That's
of
awesome.
people.
And yeah.
Yeah,
That's good. Yeah. So let's get into Vampr for a minute, and then we'll talk about other things.
sure.
But I want to go by next Vampr because when I first heard Vampr, I saw it on either TikTok or
Okay.
Instagram. Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
and I saw these two guys talking about Vampr, and
yeah,
they just like, "What if we have Tinder for musicians?" And I'm like, "That's genius." And then they talking about Vampr, you know.
yeah.
Um, and I guess that's what you were trying to get at because looking back at you, researching you again, you were trying to get more collaborations with people that weren't very so demanding about money and everything, correct?
Not well, yes and no. What I was
Okay.
trying to do, what I wanted to do when I was having that tough year and working out, you know, how to make sense of the world. And I mentioned that I was in England, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know anyone in England and I had some friends there that were successful, but there's a lot of gatekeepers in music, so you
Mm-hmm.
might know successful people, but they don't necessarily want to help because they're quite
Yeah.
protective of their success. So
Yes.
I was thinking, I took a step back and I looked at the landscape of music and technology, which uh, are two interesting concepts, or they're two interesting fields because music and technology are sort of inextricably linked. But I looked at what technology was doing for music in 2015 versus, or not versus, but just and looking at where the gaps existed. And so my assessment and read on the land was music's great to help you build a fan base. It's great to help you distribute your music. It's pretty good to help you get publishing representation, and track your royalties. But it's not helping you build a network at all, and
Right.
it's not helping drummers find bass players, and it's not really helping top liners find producers, and it's not helping people find a manager, etc., etc. And I was like, someone needs to build the LinkedIn for the music industry.
And
And
you're like, I am. I'm going to build it.
well,
Right.
yeah, basically, I mean,
Yeah.
I took that year off, like I said, and I drank a lot of wine and I sat in the sun
Yes.
and reflected a lot, and and I started working on a prototype, and once things got some momentum and a little bit of I suppose support and encouragement from folks that I was showing the early plans to, I was encouraged enough to go off and look for an initial what's called a CTO, which is, you know, Chief Technical Officer, someone who can help bring a technical vision to life. And you know, fast forward a year, and we'd raised $500,000 and had built a prototype that we had released, and then things sort of go from there, which we can get into, but it gets a bit more financy at that point.
Yeah,
But
right. Yeah, well, it's all financing because I don't want to dive deep in your money.
yeah,
You know, we don't want to talk about it here. You know,
yeah, that's fine.
because I know that money is important, but I'm like I don't really want to dive deep into that stuff, and I'm sure you can agree with it. But going back to what you said about wine, sidebar: Are you a whiskey drinker at all?
Well, I don't drink.
Okay,
I
okay.
don't really drink anymore because
You don't.
I
Okay.
drank enough in my 20s to last a
Okay.
lifetime. So
Right, yeah,
I've
because the reason why I'm asking is because these musical artists now are coming out with their own whiskey brand. You
I
know,
know.
you got Metallica, which I tried. It's right over there. It's okay. It's not best. I'm not a big. Well, I don't drink anyway.
Well, I was a
But
Jameson man back in my prime.
okay, yeah, yeah, and Machine Head. I'm sure you've heard of Machine Head, but they came out with their whiskey, and I ordered it, and it's coming in like two big glass shotgun things. I don't know what you call it, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
All right.
Great.
So going back to Vampr, so I'm gonna go through some of these things that you could do with Vampr, just in case somebody might not know, and maybe you can kind of
Yeah, I'll jump in and flesh it out.
yeah, just jump in, okay. All right, and the filters, you can find people by location near
Yep.
you, anywhere or different city. And you can find them by maximum distance, and genres. I guess you can search for if you want some blues basis, or you
Yeah,
can.
so it's what technically you'd call a geosocial network. So at its core, it's all based on location, and the reason why that matters is, well, if you look at if you look at the history of music, you've got folks that met usually based on geographical restriction. So, you look at a lot of the great bands, for example, they met at college or high schools,
Yeah.
and that's because they were, two or four people who just happened to come together because that's where they happen to be. And so, like, location matters a lot if you look at the history of music, and if you think about East Coast sounding hip hop or West Coast sounding hip hop, and
Yeah.
just location and geography actually is such a critical part of why music sounds the way it does, but also how people come together. And so that basing a social network around location made sense, if for no other reason than to honor what came before us and to build upon that. But the other thing is to be able to search distinctly between who's local to you versus who's global was a real turning point, I think, for music industry, because a lot of people now collaborate online. So it's
Yeah.
not uncommon for songwriters, particularly, and producers, to collaborate through Zoom like we're doing now, and to send files between Dropbox. And there's lots of other startups that are making that even easier. But that seemed to us to be pretty important criteria, that folks could find people who aren't not close to them because they want to go beyond their circle. It means that historically, if you were stuck in a small, town in the middle of, somewhere in the flyover states, to use an American example,
Yeah.
you would feel constrained by whoever was in that town. But now, with a tool like Vampr, we're saying you can search in that town, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you can also search globally if that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
So we wanted to give people a choice. So that's number one. Number two, the other filters you mentioned, that's what you'd almost call them. Well, one is the sort of graph. So if we think of global or local search as sort of the initial graph of how people are laid out inside the database, then you've got the filter phase. So once we establish these are the people that you're looking for or searching for, then we start filtering it down based on what genres do you have in common, what artists do you have in common, are you looking for a male versus a female, are you looking for someone in their 30s or someone in their 20s, are you looking for someone who can play multiple instruments or just one instrument. So there's all kinds of filters that you can apply. And getting that right, is something that I'd say we're always working on it, right? It's never finished. It's like a work in progress. But because people always have ideas. Well, what if you can search by this, or what if you can search by that? And so, search is like, it sounds simple, but it's one of the hardest things to get.
Oh, I know. Yeah, because programming is not easy for anybody. I don't care who you are. But okay, so there's two things that I really love. I just love the app because I found artists to come on my podcast. So
Right.
I want to personally thank you for making this for us.
How good is that? That's amazing.
I know, right? Yeah. So you don't have to be a musician to reach out to other artists. You can be a podcaster. You can be
that's right.
Anybody.
And that's why we made it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, which is perfect for people like me podcasting. But two things I want to. I think you just added this new one, this new feature. It's where you can upload your own music to it, so that people can hear what you could do and what you can do. I think that's a new feature, right? Or am I not?
It's been
kind of,
around
sort of.
for it's probably been
Yeah.
around for a
Okay.
couple of years,
Okay.
but
Okay.
it's newer, and we're always working on it. I think you're talking about something called vamps. So,
I think
um,
so.
yeah. So in music,
Yeah.
like to vamp is to sort of jam around an idea or find, it could be several people sitting around sort of vamping is
Yeah.
improvising in a way around a set of chords usually. But obviously the platform itself is called Vampr, which is to collaborate. And we called these little short videos that you can upload to show someone a demo of what you're working on. We called them vamps because that's kind of what they are. They're little expressions of an idea usually. Like people can upload what they want really, but we encourage folks to upload demos and works in progress so that folks can see, where someone's at with an idea and hopefully be inspired and want to add to it.
Yeah. Nice. Nice. So I am looking at your website vinyl.group. Okay.
Yes.
And this is one of your many things too. You have Vampr, Vinyl Media, and Serenade.
Yes.
Okay, can we go into Vinyl Media real fast, and we'll go into Serenade?
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
just do a quick
Yeah.
stop on each one. But Vinyl Media is the result of a year of purchasing lots of media companies. So
Okay.
I sold Vampr in 2023 to a publicly listed Australian company, and that publicly listed Australian company owned another thing called Jackster, which is like IMDb for musicians.
Yeah.
Um, but Vampr and Jackster together weren't quite profitable. So what we needed to do was either find a way to make it profitable quickly, that can usually look like cuts, or we needed to find an investor who would allow us to go and buy things that were profitable so that the business could survive
Right.
and that we could keep the tools alive. So what I did, what we went out and did was find a whole bunch of music, typically music related, but some of them are lifestyle now and entertainment, media publications like Rolling Stone Australia is a good example.
Mm.
Um, and we bought them, brought it into the company, put them together, put these teams together. It was quite a lot of work and cost a fair bit of cash, but we put these things together and we created a new media company. And that media company today is called Vinyl Media. It reaches about 10 million people every month. And we're Australia's largest youth publisher. So that
Yeah.
means, anyone sort of 18 to 36 who's interested in things that move the sort of cultural paradigm from music to film to food to sport, etc. Typically, we'll be covering that in some way, shape, or form, um, and we bring that to folks through our various websites. So we mentioned Rolling Stone. We've also got a music website called the Music Network, another one called Tone Deaf. We have Variety Australia on the film side. So yeah, the list goes on. We altogether we've got about 20 different
Yeah.
websites, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's quite
You
large.
stay pretty busy with that one, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and that is the largest part of the business at the moment. So I most of my time these days goes into vinyl media, but it's pretty special. It didn't exist a couple of years ago, and now it's the largest at what it does in Australia. So that's amazing. Serenade's a music tech platform that we bought that allows artists to create digital collectibles that are chart eligible. So, historically, when you think about, getting in the charts, you're thinking about streaming results when you release a new album, you're thinking about physical sales of CDs and vinyl records, and you might be thinking about those same assets but sold at your shows, and together, you know, hopefully someone's staying on top of submitting all that information to the charts, and that might be how you get chart accredited. What Serenade did was create a whole new product category altogether that blends digital and physical products. um, and there's some blockchain technology in there, but it's actually not very relevant to the core product. um, and they've done a good job of selling that into the charts companies, and then now it's kind of become in the music industry a B2B product, which means rather than selling it directly to fans, what we do is we go to people like Jimmy Barnes, I think was the last one that we did, and we go to their team and we say, on your website or at your shows, sell these new category of products, and it's like usually it's exclusive collectibles, stuff that fans can't get anywhere else.
Right.
um, and it'll count towards your, your chart um, metrics. So that's a great little business that we picked up about almost 12 months ago. An English business, so based out of England, and we've just been kind of selling that around the world, and giving that a red hot crack. So that's just another one of what Vinyl Group really is, and we kind of skipped this, but Vinyl Group's a portfolio company, so it owns lots of music, tech companies, and now media brands too. And what they all share in common is they help connect the ecosystem of music, particularly for independents, but it does go beyond that now.
Yeah.
And bring together this rather fragmented but quite large ecosystem of rights holders, music creators, and fans. And so we do that through.
It brings everybody together.
It brings everyone together through our various platforms. Yeah.
Well, I think that's great because it's so hard nowadays to make money for bands in the industry now, because of streaming. They're not getting paid at all. And the most they can do is buy their physical media. So I think that Vinyl
And we do
Group
that,
is,
and we do that on Vinyl.com. Vinyl.com's our e-commerce store, but we sell lots of things on there, CDs, merchandise. But the main thing we sell on there is vinyl records, and we're selling at retail. And it is a great way for artists to make a little bit more money than they would through just getting people to listen to the stream.
I love vinyl records. I got a whole shelf of vinyl records over there.
Oh, great!
They're kind of taking up more room, so I have to like start buying cassettes.
Boxes. Oh, right.
Cassettes, which is like my heart and soul right here. 'Cause I grew up with cassettes and then CDs, and then I didn't grow up with vinyl first, so maybe that's why
I'm the same as you. I started with cassettes as well.
Yeah, and they're coming back. They're coming back slowly but surely.
Yeah, I think we sell some cassettes, not many, but we sell some. Yeah.
Nice. Who is your favorite? Okay, so do you remember your first cassette ever?
I'm embarrassed to say this, but
Oh, come on.
I think it was a boy band called Five, which I don't even
Take
think
Five?
made it-
Or
No, just Five.
Just Five? Okay.
Five. And
Okay.
they were like Australia's version of the Backstreet Boys.
Got it. I love the Backstreet Boys, man. The Backstreet Boys is so great. Yeah. Because I think my first cassette was either Reba McEntire or Billy Ray Cyrus.
Oh, cool.
The one with Achy Breaky Heart. So
Yes.
that's my
Really
that's
got
yeah.
Much
Yeah,
better
but,
taste than I did as a kid.
Well,
But I had some cool. Ones. I mean, when I found my parents' tape collection, and I got into creating bootlegs and copying some performances from one tape machine to another and all that crap. But when I started doing that, then I started to build some original cool ones. The Queen Greatest Hits tape.
Yes.
Got a good workout, and I copied that onto lots of other tapes too. But yeah.
I mean, you can't go wrong with Queen now. Queen is
amazing. I remember I had some compilations with like Queen, Toto, Diana Ross, ABBA. So
ABBA's great. ABBA,
a diverse mix.
My sister loves ABBA. Yeah, she can't get it. She saw them live about a few months ago, and I didn't even know they were back. I'm like,
oh yeah,
crap.
that's yeah.
Yeah, I guess they're doing like a reunion tour all around. I don't know, but it's great. It's great. Okay, so we're gonna do a quick thing about this or that. Okay, so I'll give you two bands, and you're gonna tell me which one would you prefer listening to right now.
This is unfair, man.
I know, right? There's some power, All right, so we're gonna do. Okay, so let's just get this out of the way. Megadeth or Metallica?
Metallica.
Perfect. Why?
I liked Metallica's music more.
Yeah. I love Metallica too. Okay, so we're gonna do. Let's do Incubus or Pearl Jam.
Pearl Jam.
Pearl Jam. Let's do. Who else could we do? Creed or Nickelback?
Oh, that's a
Yeah,
tough
dude.
one.
Yeah.
Well, Nickelback gets a lot of shit, but I think
Yeah.
they make some pretty good, catchy songs that we all
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with Nickelback.
Nickelback. Yeah, it's funny because I watched a documentary on them on Netflix, and
I
I
saw
didn't
it. I
know,
saw it.
and I didn't
Yeah,
know they got that much heat for
yeah.
just being Nickelback, you know.
What was the documentary was called? Like Everyone Hates Nickelback or something.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Everyone needs to Nickelback. I'm like, no, dude. So
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
they have some good they have some decent songs, but they were songs that we never heard. We always heard, Picture and I mean Photograph and all
Photograph.
these other.
Yeah,
They just played them nonstop over and over, and I guess that's why we hated them so much because
yeah,
everywhere you turn, there they are, you know.
yeah.
But yeah, but I would have to say Creed for me only because I
Okay.
love Creed to death, you know. So that's kind of my
And
go
that's what
to.
and that's why we love music because there's no right or wrong answers.
There you go. Yeah, it's not like politics, you know. I stay out of politics, man, for sure. So
Yeah.
all right. So we do
Smart
have
choice.
right. Yes. So we do have three more questions for you.
Yes.
Um, okay, so we're going to go back in time. We're going to go to Josh's room back when he was 16, 17, 18.
Yeah.
Okay? I don't know how way back that is,
Yeah.
but it's way back for me, right? Okay,
Yeah.
so we're looking around your room. Are we seeing any musical posters on the wall?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
you are. You're seeing Jeff Buckley.
Nice.
You're seeing Led Zeppelin. You're seeing Michael Jackson's movie poster for This Is It, and um, Eminem.
Eminem. I love it. I love it. You got a very good range
Yeah,
of music, you know.
yeah.
So,
That was those years, 16 to 18. I still lived at home, and I was working out of I made my bedroom a studio. Like, our house was big, but it wasn't big enough to have a bedroom and a studio. So I converted my bedroom into a studio, and I had a
Genius.
bed in the corner, and I had all my sort of heroes on the wall. But I was working out what person I wanted to be, and so that's why I think the mix of stuff was quite eclectic because I didn't know what I was.
You didn't know
I
what
still
you were.
don't.
You still don't know what. Yeah. All right. So let's do two more questions and then we'll let you go. Start the morning because we're in the morning and I'm at night.
That's
So
right.
yes, yes. Which is strange because
You get to go into whiskey mode, and I get to go.
Yes. Well,
Coffee.
I mean, just coffee mode. So I'm always drinking some coffee. You know, most coffee is the best. But
Yes.
here we go. Okay, so I don't know if you're going to hit me after this, but please don't hit me. Okay. So we got a Mount Rushmore here, and it's four presidents' head on. I don't know where the state is.
Yeah.
Who has it? But what is your Mount Rushmore of musicians or bands? You could add whole bands in. So you got four of them though.
Okay.
Which
Well then.
four is it?
Okay.
I know it's
Well,
hard.
yeah. I don't know. I think we'll go with an obvious one, but we'll start with the Beatles as one of them.
I love that choice.
Well, that's the answer. We've got John, Paul, George, and Ringo. That's my Mount Rushmore.
Say no more. That's it.
That's it.
That's
That's
it.
the Mount
Yeah.
Rushmore.
I
Yeah.
love that. I'm gonna use that because my first introduction to the Beatles was my Aunt Molly, and she's
Yeah.
not here anymore. But I love the Beatles because of her, and then my mom turned me on to Elvis. So
Okay.
Elvis and Beatles. I mean, yeah, I don't think there's a better
That's it.
two. Yeah. I mean,
Shut construction of the mountain down. It's done.
that's right. Yeah, and if we add a five to it, we could add Elvis in it. Just for me and you. So that's
We'll do
great.
that.
I love that.
Let's
I
break
love
the
that
rules.
answer.
Rules are
Yeah.
there to be broken.
There you go. Yeah. So, one more question for you. Hardest question I'm going to ask you today. Is there one song, album, or artist that you can listen to, but you can't tell me, your mom, your dad, or whoever else it makes you feel it's deep inside your soul?
Yeah, but then if I told you that it breaks, didn't?
Uh, yeah, I guess so. But yeah, I didn't. Well,
No, I'll tell you this. I've got a song that that I can listen to whenever, and it resonates in a
Yeah.
weirdly profound way. It's a song called "Droned," and it's by Phil Collins, and it's from his first solo thing after Genesis, and it's an instrumental song. There's no lyrics, and it's just a beautiful piece of music that swells and swells and swells, and then it fades out quite quickly. But for whatever reason, it does something special for me.
Yeah. And that's all that needs to be said, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't explain it how it makes me feel deep inside. That's awesome. Awesome. Well, we're gonna give you a few shout outs here. So you could download the Vampr app. It's VAMPR
Yeah.
on Apple phones, iPhones, and Android phones under Google Play.
Yeah.
Right. And then on the desktop, you can go to Rhino.group.
Yeah.
And then there you can go to Vampr, Jacksta, Rhino Media, and Serenade. And yeah. So. Yeah.
Hey James, thanks for having me on, man. This was so much fun to talk
Thank
about.
you, sir. Yeah, thank you
music
for
and
coming
less
back
about.
whenever we want to. Yeah. So.
Yeah,
All right.
I loved it. It was so
All
much
right.
fun.
All right. Thank
All
you,
right.
sir. And
Thanks.
with that said, everybody, thank you for listening. And always remember, when words fail, music speaks. Bye, guys.